So when you hear the name Rihanna, what comes to mind first?
Yeah.
Probably the music, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Chart toppers, killer performances.
Yeah, that massive 2023 Super Bowl show, for instance. She's definitely a global music icon, no question.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing that kind of blows my mind, the real surprise. While the music is legendary, her actual wealth, which is sitting around, what, $1.4 billion?
Roughly, yeah. It fluctuates.
Right. Well, most of that doesn't actually come from the music. It's from her business side, which is incredible.
It really is.
So that's the big question we're digging into today. How does a music superstar like that pivot and become this, billion-dollar business mogul? It feels like it happens so fast.
Well, it's a fascinating journey, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack here. We'll look at the specific moves she made, the entrepreneurial decisions that got her into that billionaire bracket. Yep. And the goal is really for you to understand her strategy, the thinking behind it, and importantly, the impact she's had beyond just the charts. Plus, like I said, that number, that $1.4 billion, it's not fixed. Fortunes like these move around.
Definitely. We'll get to that. So our mission today, using your source material, is to really zero in on how Rihanna built this empire. We want to pull out the maybe surprising details and the key strategies that made her the wealthiest female musician out there.
And the second wealthiest female entertainer overall.
Right, second only to Oprah Winfrey. That's huge. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So, okay, you've got this artist, 9 Grammys, 12 Billboard Awards, 13 AMAs. I mean, she's a music powerhouse.
Undeniably.
But like you said, the bulk, the real weight of that $1.4 billion fortune is from business sense, not just the music sales. That pivot is just, wow. So what was the key? How did she manage that shift from chart topper to, well, CEO?
Yeah, it really highlights her vision, doesn't it? Her genius wasn't just, oh, I'm famous, let me sell something. It was way smarter. She spotted these pretty significant gaps in the market.
Gaps?
Yeah, places where consumers weren't being served. And then, this is crucial, she used her influence, her personal brand, to build inclusive brands to fill those gaps. That's the heart of the Fenty empire.
Okay, so not just licensing her name.
No, not at all. Building from the ground up, with a very clear focus on reaching people who felt, frankly, ignored by the big players.
And the first big pillar of that empire, the one that really made everyone sit up and take notice, was Fenty Beauty, right? Launched in 2017 with LVMH.
Exactly, and that launch wasn't just successful, it was revolutionary for the beauty world. It just changed the game overnight.
How so? What was the revolutionary part?
It was that commitment, right from the start, to diversity. It's specifically offering a huge range of foundation shades. We might take it for granted now, but back in 2017.
Right, it was pretty limited for many people.
It's very limited. Fenty Beauty came out swinging with 40 shades initially. 40. It addressed this massive unmet need, and that inclusivity just resonated deeply. People felt seen, and well, that connection drove enormous success almost instantly.
The numbers are just wild when you look at it. Fenty Beauty valued at what, around $2.8 billion?
That's the estimate, yeah.
And Rihanna owns 50% of that, half. Just think about that. Half of a multi-billion-dollar company built on a makeup line that basically said, hey, everyone deserves a foundation shade that matches. That stake alone is a massive part of her net worth.
A huge part. And she didn't stop there. She took that momentum, that success, and tackled another industry.
Savage X Fenty, the lingerie brand, launched in 2018.
Exactly. And again, just like Fenty Beauty, it completely disrupted the lingerie market.
And you can see the same playbook, almost, but adapted. Savage X Fenty was all about body positivity, right? Offering sizes that fit way more people.
Yes, real bodies.
And the marketing campaigns were incredibly inclusive. It felt like a real counterpoint to, the traditional lingerie brands and their very narrow focus. It struck a chord.
It really did. Again, targeting people who felt left out. And the results speak for themselves. Savage X Fenty's valuation is estimated around close to $1 billion.
Wow.
And Rihanna holds about a 30% stake in that. So what's fascinating is seeing that same core vision disruption through inclusivity applied successfully to totally different markets, beauty, then lingerie. It shows it wasn't a fluke, it's a strategy.
Authenticity and representation paying off, literally.
Precisely. It's good business, not just good ethics.
And the empire kept growing. There was Fenty Skin in 2020, focusing on clean, sort of gender-neutral skincare.
Spanning the Fenty umbrella.
But it's also fair to say not every single venture was a home run right out of the gate. There was the Fenty Luxury Fashion House, remember that? With LVMH again, launched in 2019.
I do, high fashion.
Yeah, but it ran into difficulties, especially with the pandemic hitting, and they paused operations in 2020.
They did.
So, that could have been seen as a major stumble, but it really didn't seem to slow down her overall business momentum, did it?
No, and I think that's a really important point. It shows the reality of business, right?
Yeah.
Even for someone like Rihanna, not every idea works out perfectly, especially in challenging times like a global pandemic.
True.
But a smart entrepreneur, a dynamic one, learns from that, adjusts, keeps moving. The core Fenty strategy that focused on inclusivity and market gaps was still sound. The fashion house was just one venture that needed a rethink or a pause. It shows resilience.
So the Fenty brands, Beauty and Savage X, are clearly the main drivers of her wealth, but it's not just that, right? Her income streams are more diverse.
Absolutely. You have to remember she still has a massive music catalog generating royalties.
Right. All those hints are still paying.
Definitely. And performances, like you mentioned, the Super Bowl halftime show, those are significant earners too.
Plus acting. She's been in some movies.
Yeah, roles in films like Ocean's 8 adds another layer. And then, like many people with significant wealth, she's got real estate investments.
Diversification.
Exactly. And on top of all that, there's her philanthropy. The Clara Lionel Foundation started way back in 2012, focusing on education, justice. That's part of the whole picture.
It's a really well-rounded portfolio beyond just the main Fenty pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about this massive number, $1.4 billion, but it's really important for you, the listener, to grasp that these net worth figures aren't set in stone. They move.
Constantly, they're estimates based on asset valuations, market conditions, lots of factors.
And your source material points this out specifically. It mentions that in 2025, her estimated net worth actually saw a dip, about $400 million down.
That's correct. A drop of around 29% from the $1.4 billion valuation in 2024. It's a noticeable decrease.
Definitely noticeable. And what was the reason given for that dip?
Primarily linked to challenges or maybe shifting valuations within her main ventures, Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty. Market dynamics, competition, economic factors, they can all impact brand value.
Right. But here's the kicker. Even with that $400 million adjustment downwards.
She's still firmly in the billionaire club.
Exactly. Still a billionaire, still the wealthiest female musician, still the second richest female entertainer after Oprah.
Which really speaks volumes. It shows that while fortunes can fluctuate, sometimes significantly, her fundamental position, her influence, her core business success, that remains incredibly strong. The foundation is solid, even if the exact number on top shifts a bit.
Yeah, it puts the fluctuation in perspective.
Yeah.
So wrapping this up, what does this whole journey mean? Going from, a young artist discovered in Barbados to this global business force. It's quite a story.
It's an incredible story. And I think her success really comes down to her vision, knowing her audience, those smart partnerships like with LVMH, and crucially, that consistent, unwavering commitment to inclusivity. She didn't just chase trends. She created brands that genuinely serve people who felt overlooked. And that authenticity, that connection, proved to be immensely powerful, far beyond just selling music.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. What can we take away from Rihanna's approach? That focus on finding who isn't being served and then building something for them.
Right, and her willingness to innovate, to try new things, even if one, like the fashion line, hits a bump in the road.
How much power is there, really, in building a business around authentic values like inclusivity? It clearly created massive financial success for her, but also arguably a huge cultural impact, too. Something to definitely think about.